Beneath the icy waters of Russia's northern seas lie remnants of a bygone era. These are not mere shipwrecks but silent sentinels of a tense past. Submarines, once brimming with cutting-edge technology and fierce intent, now rest on the ocean floor. They are ghostly reminders of the Cold War, a time when the world stood on the brink of nuclear war. These underwater relics are more than just abandoned vessels. They symbolize a chapter in history that was shrouded in secrecy and fear. The submarines were part of a strategic game where every move was critical. Today they lie forgotten, their steel hulls corroding in the saline depths. Exploring these submarines is like stepping into a time capsule. The eerie silence of the deep adds to the mystery and intrigue. Each visit to these underwater relics unveils more about their story and the era they represent. It's a haunting journey into the past where each rusting bolt and barnacle tells a tale. The Cold War was a period of intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. This conflict was not fought with conventional weapons but with espionage, propaganda, and a relentless arms race. Submarines played a crucial role in this underwater battlefield. These vessels were the silent warriors of the Cold War. They carried nuclear missiles capable of striking targets thousands of miles away. The mere presence of these submarines under the polar ice caps was a deterrent. They were a constant reminder of the devastating power that lay beneath. Submarines like the Typhoon class were marvels of engineering. They could remain submerged for months, undetected by enemy forces. Their stealth and endurance made them a formidable part of the Soviet naval fleet. However, maintaining such a fleet came at a high cost, both financially and technologically. As the Cold War progressed, the technological race intensified. Both superpowers invested heavily in developing more advanced submarines. This led to a cycle of innovation and obsolescence where older models were quickly replaced by newer, more sophisticated ones. Eventually, many submarines were left to decay, their strategic importance diminished. During the Cold War, submarines were at the heart of naval strategy. Their ability to launch nuclear missiles made them key players in the balance of power. These vessels were designed to operate covertly, striking fear into the hearts of adversaries. The Soviet Union invested heavily in its submarine fleet. The goal was to ensure a second strike capability in the event of a nuclear attack. This meant that even if the Soviet Union was hit, it could still retaliate with devastating force. Submarines were the perfect platform for this strategy, as they could hide beneath the ocean surface undetected. The introduction of ballistic missile submarines, SSBNs, changed the dynamics of naval warfare. These submarines carried intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, that could be launched from underwater. This gave the Soviet Union a significant strategic advantage. The mere threat of these submarines was enough to keep adversaries at bay. However, as technology advanced, older submarines became obsolete. Newer models were faster, quieter, and more capable. This led to a dilemma: what to do with the aging fleet? Many submarines were decommissioned and left to rust. The once mighty vessels became relics of a past conflict, their strategic value lost to time. The Cold War era was marked by rapid technological advancements. Both the United States and the Soviet Union were in a race to develop superior military technology. Submarines were at the forefront of this innovation. Each new class of submarine brought with it significant improvements. Advances in propulsion systems, sonar technology, and missile capabilities made each generation more formidable than the last. This relentless pursuit of technological superiority meant that submarines had a short operational life. The Soviet Union's Typhoon-class submarines were a prime example of this. They were the largest submarines ever built, designed to carry a massive payload of nuclear missiles. However, their size and complexity made them difficult to maintain. As newer, more efficient designs emerged, the Typhoon class quickly became outdated. The rapid pace of innovation also meant that older submarines were often left to decay. Once decommissioned, these vessels had little use. They were stripped of valuable parts and left to rust in naval graveyards. The technological marvels of the past became relics, forgotten in the wake of progress. The obsolescence of these submarines highlights the transient nature of military technology. What was once cutting edge quickly becomes outdated. The abandoned submarines of the Cold War are a testament to this relentless march of progress and the high cost of staying ahead in the arms race. Section 5. Abandonment. Reasons behind the decay. The abandonment of Cold War-era submarines was not a decision made lightly. Several factors contributed to this outcome, each playing a significant role in the fate of these vessels. The first and most obvious reason was the sheer cost of maintaining such a large fleet. The Soviet Union's economy was under immense strain during the later years of the Cold War. The resources required to keep the submarine fleet operational were staggering. As newer, more efficient submarines were developed, it became increasingly difficult to justify the expense of maintaining the older models. Environmental regulations also played a role in the decision to abandon these submarines. The decommissioning process was complex and costly. Disposing of nuclear reactors and other hazardous materials required significant investment. In many cases, it was deemed more practical to leave the submarines where they were, rather than undertake the expensive task of dismantling them. Political changes in the post-Cold War era further complicated the situation. The dissolution of the Soviet Union led to a period of economic and political instability. Many military assets, including submarines, were left in limbo. The newly formed Russian Federation lacked the resources to address the issue comprehensively. The result was a fleet of abandoned submarines left to decay in naval graveyards. These vessels, once symbols of Soviet power, became rusting hulks. Section 6. Ghost ships, eerie features of the abandoned submarines. Exploring the abandoned submarines of the Cold War is a haunting experience. These vessels, once teeming with life and activity, are now silent and desolate. Each submarine has its own unique features, adding to the eerie atmosphere. One of the most striking features is the rusting hulls. Years of exposure to saltwater have taken their toll, leaving the metal corroded and pitted. The once sleek and formidable exteriors are now covered in rust and barnacles. This decay gives the submarines a ghostly appearance, as if they have been frozen in time. The interiors of these submarines are equally haunting. The control rooms, once filled with the hum of machinery and the chatter of crew members, are now silent. The control panels, with their myriad of buttons and switches, are covered in dust. The periscopes, once used to scan the horizon for enemy ships, now peer into the murky depths. Personal items left behind by the crew add a poignant touch. Uniforms, books, and photographs can still be found in the living quarters. These remnants of daily life serve as a reminder that these submarines were once home to sailors. The presence of these personal items adds to the sense of abandonment and loss. Exploring these ghost ships is a journey into the past. Each rusting bolt and faded photograph tells a story. The eerie features of the abandoned submarines serve as a stark reminder of the Cold War and the human cost of this tense period in history. Section 7. Environmental Impact Underwater Decay. The environmental impact of the abandoned Cold War submarines is a significant concern. These vessels, left to rust in naval graveyards, pose a threat to the marine ecosystem. The decay process releases hazardous materials into the surrounding waters. One of the primary environmental issues is the release of heavy metals. The submarines are constructed from materials such as steel and copper, which corrode over time. This corrosion releases heavy metals into the water, which can be harmful to marine life. The presence of these metals can disrupt the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Another major concern is the potential for radiation leaks. Many of the abandoned submarines were nuclear-powered. The reactors, although decommissioned, still contain radioactive materials. As the submarines deteriorate, there is a risk that these materials could leak into the ocean, causing widespread contamination. The decaying submarines also pose a physical hazard to marine life. The sharp edges of the rusting hulls can injure fish and other sea creatures. The submarines can also act as artificial reefs, attracting marine life. While this might seem beneficial, it can disrupt the natural habitat and behavior of the species that colonize these structures. Efforts to address the environmental impact of these submarines are ongoing. Researchers and environmentalists are working to monitor the decay process and mitigate the risks. However, the scale of the problem is immense, and finding a comprehensive solution remains a challenge. Section 8. The Silent Threat: Radiation and Pollution. The abandoned Cold War submarines pose a silent but significant threat to the environment. The risk of radiation leaks from the decommissioned nuclear reactors is a major concern. These reactors, although no longer operational, still contain radioactive materials. The deterioration of the submarines increases the risk of these materials being released into the ocean. Even small amounts of radioactive contamination can have severe consequences for marine life and human health. The long-term effects of radiation exposure can include genetic mutations and increased cancer rates. In addition to radiation, the submarines also contribute to pollution. The corroding metal releases toxic substances into the water. These pollutants can accumulate in the food chain, affecting fish and other sea creatures. The presence of these toxins can also impact human populations that rely on fishing for their livelihood. Efforts to mitigate the risks posed by the abandoned submarines are ongoing. Researchers are studying the decay process to better understand the potential for radiation leaks. Environmental organizations are advocating for the safe disposal of the submarines and their hazardous materials. However, the complexity and cost of addressing these issues are significant barriers. The abandoned submarines remain a silent threat, their decaying hulls a reminder of the Cold War's environmental legacy. The challenge of managing this threat underscores the long-term consequences of military conflicts and the need for sustainable solutions. Section 9. Visualizing the decay images of ruined giants. The decaying Cold War submarines present a haunting visual spectacle. Photographs and underwater footage capture the eerie beauty of these rusting giants. The images tell a story of technological prowess, abandonment, and decay. One of the most striking images is that of a submarine partially submerged in water. The rusting hull, covered in barnacles, stands in stark contrast to the clear blue sea. This image captures the passage of time and the relentless march of nature reclaiming man-made structures. Underwater photographs reveal the interior of these submarines. The control rooms with their intricate machinery and control panels are now encrusted with rust. The once bright and bustling spaces are now dark and silent. These images evoke a sense of loss and nostalgia for a bygone era. Close-up shots of the submarine's exteriors show the extent of the decay. The metal hulls are pitted and corroded, with holes and cracks appearing in the structure. The intricate details of the submarine's design are still visible, but they are overshadowed by the signs of neglect and deterioration. These visual representations of the decaying submarines serve as a powerful reminder of the Cold War. They highlight the transient nature of technological achievements and the lasting impact of military conflicts. The images of these ruined giants evoke a sense of melancholy and reflection on the past. Section 10. Preserving History, Efforts to Document and Save. The abandoned Cold War submarines are not just relics of the past, they are important historical artifacts. Efforts to document and preserve these submarines are crucial for understanding this period in history. Researchers, historians, and environmentalists are working together to achieve this goal. One of the primary efforts is the documentation of these submarines. Researchers are conducting detailed surveys of the vessels both above and below water. This involves taking photographs, recording measurements, and mapping the locations of the submarines. The data collected helps create a comprehensive record of these underwater relics. Preservation efforts also involve raising awareness about the significance of these submarines. Exhibitions, documentaries, and publications aim to educate the public about the role of these vessels in the Cold War. By highlighting their historical importance, these efforts seek to garner support for their preservation. In some cases, physical preservation of the submarines is possible. This involves stabilizing the structures to prevent further decay. Removing hazardous materials such as nuclear reactors is also a priority. These efforts require significant resources and expertise but are essential for safeguarding these historical artifacts. The goal of these preservation efforts is to ensure that future generations can learn from the past. The abandoned submarines are a tangible link to the Cold War era. By documenting and preserving them, we can gain valuable insights into the technological achievements, strategic decisions, and human experiences of this period. Section 11. Lessons from the Past, Reflections on the Cold War Era. The abandoned Cold War submarines offer a unique perspective on this tense period in history. They serve as a reminder of the high stakes and immense costs of the Cold War. Reflecting on these relics can provide valuable lessons for the present and future. One of the key lessons is the transient nature of military technology. The submarines, once cutting-edge, quickly became obsolete. This highlights the relentless pace of technological advancement and the high cost of staying ahead in the arms race. It serves as a reminder that today's innovations may become tomorrow's relics. The environmental impact of the abandoned submarines also offers important lessons. The long-term consequences of military conflicts extend beyond the battlefield. The pollution and radiation risks posed by these submarines underscore the need for sustainable solutions. Addressing these environmental challenges requires collaboration and investment. The human cost of the Cold War is another important aspect to consider. The submarines were home to sailors who lived and worked in challenging conditions. Reflecting on their experiences can provide insights into the human dimension of military conflicts. It reminds us of the sacrifices made by those who served during this tense period. Ultimately, the abandoned submarines are a testament to the complexities of the Cold War. They encapsulate the technological, environmental, and human dimensions of this era. By reflecting on these relics, we can gain a deeper understanding of the past and draw lessons for the future. Section 12. Conclusion. Echoes of a bygone era. The abandoned Cold War submarines are haunting relics of a tense and complex period in history. These underwater giants, once symbols of technological prowess and strategic power, now lie rusting in the depths. They remind us of the high stakes, immense costs, and enduring legacy of the Cold War. Exploring these submarines offers a unique glimpse into the past. The eerie silence, rusting hulls, and personal items left behind by the crew evoke a sense of loss and nostalgia. Each submarine tells a story, capturing the technological advancements, strategic decisions, and human experiences of the Cold War. The environmental impact of these abandoned vessels is a significant concern. The risks of radiation leaks and pollution highlight the long-term consequences of military conflicts. Efforts to document and preserve these submarines are crucial for understanding and addressing these challenges. Reflecting on the abandoned submarines provides valuable lessons for the present and future. The transient nature of military technology, the environmental impact of conflicts, and the human cost of war are all important considerations. By preserving these relics, we can ensure that future generations learn from the past. The ghost fleet of Russia's abandoned Cold War submarines is a powerful reminder of a bygone era. They stand as silent sentinels, echoing the tensions, sacrifices, and complexities of the Cold War. As we explore and reflect on these underwater relics, we gain a deeper understanding of history and its enduring legacy.